Being the smart kid is absolutely a curse. I felt like growing up, I was always considered the smart kid, and I always did good on tests, I always looked at for answers, and I do have to say, I was pretty gifted. In kindergarten, I already knew all of my times tables up to 12 times 12, and I was also able to speak sentences from a pretty early age. So for me, I felt like I was really gifted, and I felt like I was ahead of everyone else. But this absolutely came at a cost. Simply put, I got way too comfortable with being ahead of everyone else, to where I kind of stopped putting in real effort to improve. I already felt like I was ahead. I already felt like I was at the top. So for me, why did I need to bother trying to get smarter when I already felt like I was the smartest? And this only continued onwards even into middle school. For me, I was always the smartest kid in my elementary school, but when it came to middle school, I was in a situation where the new students in the middle school were from both elementary schools combined. So the other elementary school had a lot more people in it, and some of those people were just about as smart, if not maybe even a little bit smarter than I was. So of course, I wasn't used to this, being the smartest kid in my elementary school. Now in middle school, I have a lot more competition. I still wanted to be the smartest, but after a while, I kind of stopped caring about it, and I kind of just believed that I was the smartest. Just because I was gifted enough to not really need to try on a lot of assignments, I just figured that I might be the smartest. And obviously when it came to even class ranks, I was nowhere near the smartest. Sure, everyone knew me as the smart kid, or a smart kid, but I was never really the smartest. And absolutely, this is because I got very comfortable with being known as the smart kid. And a question you would probably ask is, why does this matter in the first place? Why does it matter to be the smart kid? Well, for me, I felt like I kind of wanted to be a little bit known for something. And I know it's a bit sad, but I really didn't have much else going for me at the time. I wasn't athletic, I wasn't on any sports teams, I wasn't popular, I didn't really have any fame. So if I couldn't be known for anything in terms of athleticism or popularity, intelligence is probably the last thing that I really had. And I feel like a lot of this too stemmed from jealousy, because I always looked up to a lot of the popular kids that they could get along with people, and it just felt like they had a lot of connections and people that were there for them. But for me, I was always hanging around the popular kids, but I really wasn't popular myself. The best way to describe myself in school and even in high school too was just the unpopular popular kid. I'm the kid that everyone knows but still isn't popular. And a lot of this was really because my self-esteem was so low that I was seeking validation from other people. So I felt like being the smart kid at least gave me some sort of validation. At least I could be somewhat popular if I was the only one that had an answer to a tough problem. But other than that, there wasn't really that much use for me. Was I really much besides an answer sheet? Especially in sciences, mathematics, and especially technology or foreign languages, most people would probably look for me for the answers, which it felt nice that people trusted me enough to give them the answers for things. But at the same time, I kind of just felt like I was being used for this kind of stuff. When could I make actual friends with them instead of them just wanting to be friendly with me just because they want the answers? And I believe I mentioned this before in another video, but one of my biggest regrets was not letting loose enough in high school. This pressure of being the smart kid absolutely did that for me. It really just contributed to adding more stress for me. And then I ended up with the reputation that most people, they didn't really want to bring me to parties or even really hang out just because they figured that I would be studying and I cared more about my grades than having fun. Which it was true for a while, but once it started to come to the end of senior year, and especially during my college years, that was very much not the case. And it turned into the exact opposite. Now I'm looking more forward to trying to get out of the house and go places. I don't care for sitting inside my house and studying for things anymore. I just need to really live my life. And a lot of my time, I felt like I wasted it just because I was spending it trying to uphold this image of me being the smart kid. Most people just assumed that I was just this genius that was able to speak multiple languages and hack into computers and things like that. But it felt like for me, a lot of that wasn't true. And I was too afraid of people feeling disappointed in me. People can get mad at me all they want, but once they feel disappointed, that's a really hard feeling for me to grasp. I really hated the feeling of being a letdown. So that's why I felt like I was trying to uphold this image just for them. Because if it wasn't obvious at this point, yeah, I was absolutely a people pleaser. And that's what really started to destroy me, because I was spending way too much time on something that it did matter to me at first, but I wanted to change, but felt too afraid to change. So for me, I always harped on this one thing being intelligence, which is kind of what I only had in school. It wasn't easy for me to make friends, it wasn't easy for me to get into sports, but the only thing that was easy for me was just upholding good grades without even trying. And even for a while, that kind of started to slip. So for me, it was just that it was all this unneeded pressure that I really did not need at the time. And it just contributed to my declining mental health and just all of that. It just wasn't good for me. Which, don't get me wrong, getting good grades and stuff, that's completely fine. But I felt like the main reason why I ended up trying to be more of the smart kid, it was absolutely not for a good reason. And it was really just that I got way too comfortable with everything. And it's just that what was happening at the time, it was working. It's not where I wanted to be, but the way I looked at it is it works, so why not continue with it? Even though this really isn't where I want to be in life. I don't care for being the smart kid if it doesn't pay the bills later on. I don't care for being the smart kid if it just ends up leading to my declining mental health and just me going down a very dark path. Because that's not what I need in life. I don't care for studying anymore. I don't care for trying to put on this image for other people. I just need to live my own life, which is really what I haven't been doing. And that's kind of what I'm trying to do now. So that's going to be it for this episode, and until next time.